Man, there was a lot to recap. Bucks close out the Nets. Hawks close out the Sixers. Jazz bow out. Suns beat the Clippers. No NBA coming up tonight. Jon Rahm wins the U.S. Open. That's a busy weekend. Reggie Miller will be on the call for the Eastern Conference Finals on TNT between the Hawks and the Bucks beginning Wednesday at 8:30 Eastern. Yeah, I'm sure you predicted that, didn't you, Reg? Hawks versus the Bucks.
We went to Vegas, didn't we?
No.
We put our money down on the Bucks and the Hawks?
Well, I had the Bucks.
It was a blur for you and I. I vaguely remember, but I remember you and I distinctly having that conversation. Hey, Reg, let's go put down our money on the Milwaukee Bucks and the Atlanta Hawks to be in the Eastern Conference Finals. Wow.
All right, before we get to the winning teams, let me start with the losing teams. Seems They're more interesting here. Let me start with Philadelphia. I brought this up to you last year. I think I brought this up to you in the last 2 years with Ben Simmons. What would you do with Ben Simmons? If you're Philadelphia, you want to keep him. So what do you do?
I think you go out to a hardware store and you buy all the locks possible. You put him in a gym and you padlock the door shut. I think, look,
but his form is bad, Reg.
He is going to take a beating this offseason, and a little bit rightfully so. It's not so much that he wasn't shooting. He wasn't aggressive at all. And I don't mind him missing jump shots or whatever, but put pressure on the defense. He wasn't putting any pressure on Atlanta whatsoever. And at 6'10" in that frame, all I got to do is put him in the mid post and let him get a couple crab dribbles until he gets into the paint, collapse the defense. That's being aggressive. It's not always taking shots. People assume that when I tell people to be aggressive, it's always about shots. Sometimes it's good to be a decoy and create offense for others, which he's good at. He wasn't even doing that, Dan, and that's the problem.
Yeah, but now it's mental, Reg. He didn't attempt field goals in the fourth quarter in 5 of the 7 games. He wasn't. They have to put him down in the low post to hide him because then somebody has to guard him down there as opposed to on the perimeter.
Look, as much as I love Doc Rivers, I've been on this show and said he's one of the best coaches. He's got to take partial blame of this because, look, we all were reading the stats coming into Game 7. We knew that he hadn't attempted shots. We knew that he hadn't been aggressive. This kind of has to go – the blowback has to go a little bit to Doc as well because Doc knew this. But here's the other thing. Where does he turn to? Is he turning to Shake Milton? Is he turning to Thibault? Where do you want him to turn when you have a, 23, 24? I'm not exactly sure how old Ben Simmons is. Do you crush his confidence by taking him out? Are you going to grow with him? So Doc has to look in the mirror a little bit because Doc left him out there. He left him on the island out there as well. But where does Doc turn to?
But I wonder if he can stay in Philadelphia.
Well, look, someone will open up the piggy bank for him. You know that, right?
Yeah, but so, I don't. It's you're not going to get dollar for dollar for him. It's not like, hey, we're going to trade him to Portland to get Dame Lillard.
Right.
I don't know where you can send him and what you could get in return. It almost feels like there's a little addition by subtraction here, Reg.
And I think they kind of did that with their overall number one pick a few years ago when Markelle Fultz, right?
Yeah.
Did Markelle Fultz have a little yips and a hitch in his shot, and he was the overall number one pick? He was supposed to be teamed with Ben Simmons. It was supposed to be the backcourt of the future, and it was, addition by subtraction again. So you see what you can get, maybe a couple first-round draft picks, get younger, and get lucky in the draft again. But I wouldn't close the book on Ben Simmons because he is such a young player. I agree with you that it is mental at this aspect, but this is something that can be corrected. It's a shame to see because he's such a good kid and he has so much physical talent. He just needs He needs a jump shot.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though, Reg. There's one thing: his form is not good,
Terrible.
and then the mental aspect of this. I know they're combined because if all of a sudden he starts making shots, it's amazing that you feel a lot more confident about your game. And I don't know, do I work on the mental side of this with Ben Simmons and then the physical, or does it have to be the other way?
I think you have to work on the mental side first, because the physical side will come. That's just repetition, being in the gym and getting your reps in. The mental approach, I think, will take longer because, as you and I know how Philly fans are and how talk radio is right as we speak in Philadelphia, they are crucifying this young man. And mentally, how is he going to come to grips with that? And he has to get stronger mentally first before the physical aspects can take place.
Yeah, he's just got to try to survive until football season starts in Philadelphia. That'll take away the heat from him.
Good luck with that. Good luck.
The Nets, Durant was spectacular, and I don't know James Harden's health status there, Reg. But James Harden in closeout games is, I think, 1-7 now. He was not good yesterday either. And
well, he really wasn't good in the 3 games he came back for the Nets.
yeah,
He was just out there. And they needed another player with Kyrie being down with the ankle injury. And you're right. Superhuman effort by Kevin Durant. But I put a tweet out after Game 5, after that unbelievable game that he had to bring them back when they were down double digits against Milwaukee. This is a guy that's coming off an Achilles tear.
I know.
And all season long, you have rested him. And he played 48 minutes. If you would have rested him during the regular season, again, winning Game 5, that was the game they needed to get to go up 3-2. Game 6, it's a luxury. It's not a necessity. I would have rested him. And certainly I would have rested James Harden, who played 45 minutes in Game 5 and gave them 5 points. The fact that they came back and played him in Game 6, everyone killed me.
Yeah, you're right.
No, you go after Game 6. No, I want to win one game, and I'll sort the rest out later. I'm pushing all my chips in the game. Wouldn't you have rather, now in hindsight, wouldn't you have rather had a rested on 3 days rest, Kevin Durant, and certainly James Harden for Game 7? Did you see how they were just hung over in exhaustion, both teams? But wouldn't you have loved to have had a fresh Kevin Durant and a fresh James Harden in Game 7? 40 minutes they played in Game 6, and Harden was a little bit better than Game 5. He didn't shoot the ball great, and KD was KD. But the Bucks played it smart. Don't blow them out. Keep it close so they have to play those minutes. 40 minutes both by them in Game 6, and they come back, and what did KD hit? 53? He played the whole game and overtime.
Yeah.
And what, 45 for James Harden? Maybe more in that overtime deciding Game 7? It was too much. And on top, and having said all that, they were a size 16 shoe on the line from winning that. Having me said all that, they still could have won that. But I'm just saying, I needed one game. If I'm the Nets, I don't care if I'm going to take a beating for not having them play in Game 6. I want them fresh for Game 7, and I'll worry about Game 1 when Game 1 comes in the conference finals. Now, if the Nets would have lost Game 5, I never would have said that because that's out of necessity that he has to play Game 6. But it was a luxury that they won. I don't need Game 6. I need Game 7.
The Utah Jazz had a great opportunity, missed opportunity, and we could look at Mike Conley not being in there. I mean, you win the first 2 games, Reg, and then lose 4 straight.
Yeah.
Donovan Mitchell wasn't 100%, but still, you have home court advantage, and the defensive player of the year, Rudy Gobert, got abused. I don't. Was this a successful season for the Jazz?
Successful regular season. You had the overall best record. You had the defensive player of the year in Rudy Gobert. You had the sixth man of the year in Jordan Clarkson.
But doesn't that make it worse, Reg?
It does. And then Coach Snyder was almost coach of the year. So you almost had three of the top awards on your team. And yet you're up 25 in the second half on the road. And it's a closeout scenario for you. You've got to close the door. And by any means necessary, you've got to get that game 6 back to Salt Lake City for game 7. So having highlighted all that, it's disappointing if you're a Jazz fan, because you can't be 25. Now, look, I know comebacks happen. I've been a part of them, and on both sides. But you've got to win that game, Dan. You can't be up 25 in the second half. It's one thing to be up early, 25, but in the third quarter, with the firepower they have, you got to win that game.
Talking to Reggie Miller, Hall of Famer. Reg will be on the call Eastern Conference Finals. That will be Hawks-Bucks. That'll be Wednesday at 8:30 Eastern. More of a coming-out party for Trae Young or Devin Booker, in your opinion?
I think I said on this show, the one person I was excited to see in these playoffs above everyone else was Devin Booker. Real basketball minds like yourselves and mine, we understand true players. Devin Booker is a true player. He just has been on crappy teams his whole career, his whole young career.
Yeah.
And we're finally getting a chance. We caught a glimpse of it in the bubble last season when they went 8-0, and everyone was kind of, what was the NBA going to look like? Everyone convened in one place. So we caught a glimpse of that. Even though they didn't make the playoffs, they were the only team to be undefeated down there. And then when they added Chris Paul, they exploded this year, second best record in the West. But Devin Booker, I've said all along, and people thought I was crazy, because his idol is Kobe Bryant. And he has taken on that mentality, that Mamba mentality, by any means necessary. And I love the dog that's in him, and I'm glad that people are finally seeing it. Trae Young has been great. Don't get me wrong. What he's done on the Eastern Shore board has been fantastic, taking out the Knicks and the Sixers. But Devin Booker, I can't believe he didn't make one of the All-NBA teams. I don't know who's voting on this.
Not me.
Not me.
Not me. Did the NBA have a good season? Now let me preface this. They wanted a short season, very little off season, and then a battle of injuries with marquee players, and now 4 non-premier teams remaining in the playoffs. Has the NBA had a good year?
Well, one thing I will say, I don't want fans hitting me on Twitter, hitting you on Twitter. I don't want to hear about conspiracy theories anymore. I don't want to hear about refs or Adam Silver wanting the big name teams. I don't want to hear all that, because they had a shot to have Brooklyn and Philly in the conference finals. You've got Steph out in the playing game. You've got LeBron James out in the first round. I don't want to hear all that. The best teams win. What is a success? It's time for new blood. We would never know the story of Trae Young, of Devin Booker, of Donovan Mitchell to a certain extent, if it wasn't for these playoffs. So you need new blood. LeBron James can't play forever. Chris Paul can't play forever. Kevin Durant has shown why he was the best player before the Achilles injury and after the Achilles injury. But we need some of these 20-year-olds to show up, and they have. So I know the ratings probably won't be great, but I love new blood. I love smaller markets, being on the biggest stage like Milwaukee.
Wait a minute. If we were doing a pickup game, and it's LeBron and KD, and you have first pick.
Well, pickup game, you need buckets. I'm going with KD.
Okay. If you were going to have one guy for a season, just 1 year, is KD better than LeBron James?
At this point of his career, like LeBron at 36 or LeBron at 30?
Right now, today. Are you betting against LeBron?
I would never bet against LeBron. But right now, what KD showed me those last 3 ball games, we like to call Kawhi Leonard the Terminator because we feel like he's a machine. He just does it over and over. For this dude to play 48, come back with 40, and come back with 53 minutes straight in those performances, I'm rolling with Kevin Durant.
LeBron's like the Terminator, man. Like, I would not bet against him. I wouldn't bet against Brady. I wouldn't bet against LeBron. Just wouldn't.
Look what KD did.
No, I understand all of that. And KD is playing better, certainly offensively, scoring-wise.
Right.
I wouldn't bet against, I don't know. I wouldn't bet against LeBron. I just wouldn't.
How about this? This is the best way. Let's just flip-flop them on their current teams.
Okay.
If KD was on the Lakers this year versus Phoenix, and LeBron was on Brooklyn in that closeout situation versus Milwaukee, does it end up the same way? Just flip-flop them. KD on the Lakers going against Phoenix, and LeBron on Brooklyn going against Milwaukee.
I'm guessing Durant might have been able to carry them.
I think so.
Scoring-wise in the first round. Scoring-wise.
Right.
LeBron would have made the Nets different. And the backup players different. You know, it's one thing to know you're going to get the ball as opposed to, we're just watching KD. LeBron is inclusive. KD is not inclusive. KD is just dominating. So it would be a different Nets. Like I would hope that, Joe Harris would actually show up. Like some of the other players would show up there, and LeBron would probably be demanding that because he would be inclusive. Whereas
so what I just laid out to you is basically was the talk of the 80s and up to the early 90s. Would you take Magic Johnson or would you take Michael Jordan? Because that's basically what you just said. One's inclusive and one is just a dominant, right?
Yeah.
So would you take Magic Johnson to set everyone else up and be the winner, or would you take one of the most dominating scorers and mentally tough players?
Yeah, but LeBron's going to be the greatest scorer of all time. Magic was not a scorer. Like, LeBron is one of the great scorers of all time. So I get Magic, distributor. I get a better defender. I get now not as good a passer, and then I get a far better scorer. So LeBron's different than Magic. Magic was limited offensively. LeBron is not so much. Right?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right. It depends. If I put Magic on the Bulls, do they still win 6 titles?
And are you putting MJ on the Lakers?
Yeah.
With Kareem?
Oh, I know.
With Big Game James, with Michael Cooper, with Byron Scott?
But how would they have done with Jordan? I don't know if they would have enjoyed it as much as they did with Magic. Right?
I don't think they would have been the Showtime. It would have been Showtime.
It would have been. Right? It would have been me time. It would have been Mike time. Yeah.
Hey, Mike. Dan said that, not me. Theodore said that.
I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of Jordan. He'd say it too. He'd be like, "Yeah, it'd be about me, though." Would they be as good with Mike as opposed to would the Bulls be as good with Magic?
Maybe not 6. I would say 4. Maybe not 6, but 4.
I think the Lakers would have too much talent to be denied, whereas as great as Magic was, I don't think the Bulls would have had enough scoring around him.
I think Mike made Steve Kerr, Paxson, Scotty to a certain degree. He made those Judd Buechler. He made those guys relevant.
What are you doing today? You have no NBA?
No, this is crazy.
No, it's good. We need to take a breather.
That was a big weekend to
digest. That was crazy.
It was a big weekend to digest.
Yeah.
Look, I'm all in for new blood. I know people are probably not happy, but
Are you bet? Could you bet against the Clippers right now? Because whenever
I still have Phoenix winning it all.
Oh, really?
I have Phoenix winning it all.
Okay.
I have Phoenix winning it all.
Okay.
After seeing them up close, seeing how their defense is, now I'll be curious to see conditioning wise how CP3 is coming back.
Yep.
But if he hasn't missed a beat, I still like Phoenix to win it all. That includes the winner of Milwaukee-Atlanta, which a lot of people are going to assume it's Milwaukee. I'm still rolling with Phoenix.
All right, Reg. Great to talk to you, bud.
Yes. I love these spirited conversations with you. This is why our friendship has endured, because a lot of times we may agree to disagree, but at the end of the day, I always end up agreeing with you, Dan.
We have that and shooting in common.
Do we? Okay, we do.
Let's take a break. No. All I know is Reg laughed at me after a practice at Indiana when I was shooting against Mark Jackson. And Reggie wouldn't even stay and watch. He wouldn't stay and watch. He laughed at me and went into the locker room. That still hurts, Reg.
It's called, I was trying to build your confidence.
No, you did not. You laughed at me. You went, "I'm not staying around for this." And then you started laughing. You ran off the floor.
I love you, Theo.
Yeah, thank you, Reg. That's Reggie Miller. Be on the call Wednesday at 8:30 Eastern, TNT, the Eastern Conference Finals.